event loop. The event loop is a set of 6 operations or phases that perform some very specific tasks. It's implemented by this C library called libuv. You can read more about it through its GitHub site. It's a quite extensive library. But this library is also responsible for keeping Node.js running with its non-blocking or asynchronous operations. And so what happens is when it receives a request, this request, if it contains any long operations, things like I/O operations, for example, reading and writing files, or DB connections or DB queries, things like that, then it will offload these operations to the system kernel. And while it's doing that in the background, the event loop keeps processing all these requests and so forth. So to understand or see this a little bit better, let's go back and look at the processing model. So here is the Node.js processing model we've seen earlier. A request comes in, the event loop processes the request. If there's any long running operations, it sends that off to the back for a thread pool to process those information. When they're done, they send back to the event loop, and then it will send that out to the user. So let's take a look inside this red arrow area where all those phases occur. So here is the event loop cycle. We have the Node.js single-threaded non-blocking event loop here. So the first phase is the timer. This phase is responsible for executing any callbacks that are scheduled by 2 very important functions, the set timeout and set interval. The second phase is the pending callbacks. This one here executes any I/O callbacks and defer to the next loop iteration. Phase 3, the idle and prepare, is rather it's an internal use only kind of phase, and it's responsible for executing any callbacks for some system operations like TCP errors and so forth. The fourth phase is a really important one. This phase is responsible for 2 main functions. One is it calculates how long it should block or poll for any I/O events or operations. And then 2, it will process events in the poll queue. And not only that, it's also responsible for controlling when timers should execute. The next phase, phase 5, is where it allows you, the developer, to execute any callbacks immediately after the poll or the phase 4. And mostly here, the most important function here is the set immediate function. And the callbacks in that function are invoked immediately right in this phase. And the last phase, phase 6, is the close callback. This is more of a cleanup kind of phase where it will close some callbacks, especially when you do a socket I/O or connection. Then when you close the connection, and then it will handle all these events, the closed events rather, at a particular phase. So this is the event loop cycle, has these 6 major phases, and we'll be referring to this cycle again in future videos. So make sure you have a kind of clear understanding of what these phases are. So in the next video, we're going to take a closer look at one of the most common cycles in the Node.js event loop, the I/O cycle.